Sigma and pi bonds. Single covalent bonds are also called sigma bonds. A sigma bond is formed when two atoms share valence electrons along the linear axis between the two atoms. The bond forms where their valence atomic orbitals overlap end to end. A sigma bond can form between two s orbitals, two p orbitals, or between an s and a p orbital. H2, F2, and HF all have sigma bonds, which are single covalent bonds formed along the internuclear axis. So the internuclear axis is like this, just a horizontal line there. And here we have two hydrogens with the 1s shell. They overlap right over here, and you can see the two electrons there, hopefully, in the overlap. With the two fluorines, we have a 2p and a 2p. They overlap, and then here's your overlap. Okay, so that will be a sigma bond. And finally, hydrogen and fluorine, we have the 1s for hydrogen and a 2p for fluorine and the 2pz because you're along this axis here, the internuclear axis, and they overlap right over here. And that's called an sp overlap. So we have sp, a pp, and an ss. Pi bonds are formed when orbitals overlap side by side, sharing their electrons. When brought close together in a molecule, the p orbitals overlap in a side-to-side fashion, overlapping above and below the internuclear axis. This is in contrast to the sigma bonds, which form along the internuclear axis. P orbitals may participate in either sigma bonds or pi bonds with other p orbitals. How are they different? Sigma bonds are head-on overlaps along the axis between the two atoms, and that's a sigma bond. Pi bonds are side-to-side overlaps above and below the axis. Right, here's the axis right here. So the bonds are taking place above and below the axis, and that's a sideways overlap, and that's a pi bond. Sigma bonds are stronger than pi bonds. This is due to the fact that sigma bonds have a greater overlap of the orbitals of the two atoms, since they are formed by directly overlapping orbitals, while the pi bonds are formed by orbitals overlapping side by side. Since every double or triple bond includes a sigma plus one or two pi bonds, double and triple bonds are stronger than single bonds. The two bonds that form the double bond are shown below. One pi bond consists of a lobe above and below the internuclear axis. Right, here's your internuclear axis. Even though we see two pi's here, that is just one bond. One sigma bond lies along the internuclear axis, and here you can see where they're overlapping. Since sigma bonds are formed along the internuclear axis, the molecule can rotate around that axis. However, the addition of a pi bond to form a double bond or two pi bonds to form a triple bond prevents the rotation of the bond. As a result, isomers of the same molecule can be formed with their atoms locked in different positions by their pi bonds. While isomers have the same chemical formula, their atoms are arranged differently, resulting in different properties. A multiple covalent bond consists of one sigma bond and at least one pi bond. A double covalent bond is made up of one sigma bond and one pi bond. A triple covalent bond is made up of one sigma bond and two pi bonds. And here you just have a sigma bond. Example 1, sigma and pi bonds. How many sigma and pi bonds exist in this ethylene molecule? There are 5 sigma bonds and 1 pi bond. The carbon-carbon double bond here has 1 sigma bond and 1 pi bond. All the carbon-hydrogen bonds, and there are 4 of them, are sigma bonds. So 1 plus 4 would be 5 sigmas, and then we have the 1 pi bond. How many sigma bonds and pi bonds are in the acetylene, also known as ethane, molecule C2H2? Triple bonds are made up of 1 sigma and 2 pi bonds. So what we have right here, we have 1 sigma and 2 pi. And the hydrogen carbon bonds right here, those are both sigma bonds. So what do we have? We have sigma, sigma. we have 3 sigmas and 2 pi bonds. How many sigma and pi bonds are in the nitrate ion? Each resonance structure has 3 sigma bonds and 1 pi bond. So here's a sigma, and right over here you have a sigma plus a pi bond. So all 3 of them have the same thing, so 1, 2, 3 sigma and 1 pi.